And we're back after AOE pickup game number 1 in what many would consider an upset here against CLG Challengers, who are still struggling to hold up the expectation of themselves as well as some of the other teams and players on them. Joshi, how big of an upset is this? If we frame it that way, is this one where it's like nobody was seeing this coming, or one where you're like, okay, there are clear reasons why AOE was able to get this win?
I mean, it wasn't... We've definitely had bigger upsets, right? And even Wildcard will give more crap a little bit about how big upsets actually are. But it's definitely a spot where, like, I don't think AOE were favored going in. But I would say, like, most of the time, AOE are supposed to take about 0.7 games in a 2-game series going up against CLG. So, like, I'm not super surprised that they get one, but I don't think they were favored to get either.
Very specific math.
Yeah.
How did you do that math? Like what?
I definitely don't do activities that are not okay.
What? I don't even know what that means.
I can't even make the connection of what you're trying to reference in this, but you know, I'll
can't talk about it on podcast.
All right. Well, you know what? Let's move on then to our halftime segment. Joshi will remain a man of mystery here on the broadcast. So we're gonna play a game here. Gabby, I know that it's your first time on in a while. We had you a little bit last year, so you got to get the vibe of what we do here during the halftime segments. We like to have fun. We're gonna retell the story of this game through a segment that I'm calling Draw My Game. Yes, Emily, I am ripping off Emily Rand directly on this one. Basically, I have a couple of moments from our producer, also named Emily, different Emily, who has sent me a couple moments from the game that I will have to draw and get the two of you to guess. Now, you're gonna have to buzz in, okay? I know a lot of people that run the game shows in this league don't have strict buzzer rules, but you have to go buzz and you have to clap, okay? So buzz, do it with me, Joshi, Gabby, buzz.
Buzz.
There we go. That is how you buzz in. Whoever gets it first gets to guess first.
Do I get penalized if I'm one of those contestants that just slams repeatedly on the buzzer? I'm just like abusing my power.
You know, we'll keep it subjective. I'll decide in the moment depending on how much you're abusing the buzzer. Okay?
He's a fickle judge. Fickle judge.
Yes. But at least I'm honest about it. All right, let's get into it. So, prompt number 1, and I want stream of consciousness from both of you while I'm doing this because Lord knows it's going to be really hard for me to actually draw this. Okay, I actually got to read the prompt here. Okay. I did not really think about how I was going to draw this, but let's try it out.
Envision it in the center of your mind.
Green.
Yeah.
There's no Zach in the game.
We're somewhere in the jungle.
It's a letter J.
So we're over
this
in,
is
like,
First Blood. Buzz.
Yeah.
Buzz?
This is First Blood when Jenkins ults down the river and kills kills
we got a train. we got a train coming in here. Woo! Yes, the Scion train. I was gonna try and draw Yode missing ult over the wall too, and by flashing, but that would have been a little too hard. Let's take a look at the clip, because we also have this clip. This was a pretty impactful moment where CLG were showing their comp's strengths. Joshi, you hit a big point repeatedly in draft. The Scion was countered by the Cho'Gath. So what does the Scion need to do? Get away from the frickin' Cho'Gath. Go do things elsewhere on the map. And I think this is a cool example of that at first, where it's like, okay, CLG just got onto the map. They capitalized on the mid laner and jungler not being in the right place at the right time, and we're able to pick up First Blood. So, boom, there we go. Joshi gets a point. Congratulations, Joshi.
I had already forgotten about the buzzer thing when we were
Everybody forgets to buzz it.
I'm gonna try and remember this time.
All right.
Your drawing was just so good. All right.
Thank you.
Gotta be a B.
Prompt number 2. Let's pull it up. Okay. This one. All right. I think I know how I'm gonna do this.
Feel like Muhammad Ali. Draw like a butterfly, buzz like a bee.
I used to draw. I've actually drawn a tattoo for someone. It's a dragon.
Oh, Buzz.
We're doing a game.
This is the light binding into headshot combo that kills, not Skytech, Breezy.
Well, now I'm blanking on the exact. No, it's not. It's not
so
that
not
one.
The bot kill after the.
It's not that. Okay.
Okay.
But you're close.
It is the
Is this a dive that happens later?
Yeah! Wait, you did buzz!
Buzz!
Joshi buzzed!
Buzz! It's the dive!
No!
Yes! It's the dive. Poor sad Annie. Let's take a look at this one as well, because we have the replay for it.
Oh my gosh.
The dive
Come on, Gabby, you
bot
got it, you
lane,
got
did I might have started this one too early? Oh? Or
no.
okay, here
There it
it is.
is.
I said the replay too early. I was like, oh no, I think I might have spoiled the next one. Okay, it wasn't just the 2v2. Of course, it's an opportunity for Darkwings to get down. It isn't just the one that Flash gets away from 2 ults, but there's still a Yone on you. This was a kill and an assist for Darkwings, as well as kind of the start of AOE snowballing forward into the game. And this was, a little bit after the first blood, where it felt like CLG were in the lead. Then there's the binding combo that you were talking about. Then the dive, and at that point, Caitlin's just crazy ahead, Joshi, and you were highlighting that too. Once Caitlin's ahead, like, it's a really rough game state.
It's really, really tough. I kind of forgot that dive even happened just because, like, it was so clean, and it felt like, yeah, AOE, like, they're checking all the boxes. CLG's not really able to find anything, and this is one of the things that I feel like AOE does really well. They go for these plays, and they always commit to them, and they either go really well, or sometimes they get turned, but this was one that was really good. All right, Gab, you got a buzz.
Yeah, Gabby's got a
Bumblebee,
buzz. I'm sorry,
Bumblebee.
Gabby. You had the right answer, but you did not follow the specific instructions given, so...
I'm trying to get my buzz position. I can't forget if I'm squatting, and it's painful. So. I'm ready.
Just get blood
Content
flow.
is pain.
Although, you usually want the blood to go to the brain, but you know, it's fine. Let's get into the next one.
Okay.
Prompt number 3. Let me read this one real quick. Okay, yep. This one's good. This one's good.
Okay. All right.
I'm ready.
This looks to be top lane.
Is that
Buzz. This is Gamsu's failed dive.
Well, let me finish drawing, okay? I had a whole idea of what I wanted to do here, and I'm gonna do it, and then we'll reveal if you're right or not, okay?
You do your thing, and you know what? I think that was too early that he was doing it, so I'm gonna buzz.
Oh, no.
Look at that little guy. Oh wait,
Why is there a bumblebee?
it's really not that centered, actually. It's fine. It looks way bigger on my screen than on your screen.
The flash and attempt Cho'Gath to get and didn't.
Yep.
It didn't.
You got
didn't work out.
Let's take a look at the footage, because of course we gotta show it as well. It was pretty
man.
sad. Like,
Yep.
so Joshi, you'd been highlighting the mana difference, which I think was pretty cool to highlight, because like obviously if Science starts charging the Q, that's mana expended, and then Cho'Gath can interrupt it with 2 abilities, and Cho'Gath should have more mana, but he didn't have mana here! He mismanaged his own mana bar and didn't have enough to actually get the ult off.
I was wondering really hard in the moment. It's like, where's the feast? Like, why is he not doing? Like, surely Scion dies here. I didn't even think about the fact that he didn't have enough mana.
I don't think he needed to E. The Vorpal spikes, I think, were too much. Like, honestly, he probably would have had enough mana if he hadn't done that. So Jenkins is definitely going to be like, or Gopsu's rather, is going to be kicking himself for that one. But Jenkins feels pretty good about it.
I've definitely done that in the past.
All right, we got time for one more, so let's get through it. Final prompt here.
Wait,
Let
who
me
gets
just
the point?
delete everything that I had there, and boom. Okay, so, how did I want to do this one? Oh,
All right, I'm gonna close my eyes a little bit. Give Gabby a bit of a more opportunity.
Oh, you think I need training wheels for this game?
we're gonna try it this way. Is that in frame? That's in frame. So wait, who got the last point, by the way? I think that was Gabby?
I think I should.
Did Gabby get it? I know Joshi got it. Joshi got the last one.
No, that's not true. That's not true.
Okay.
Well, we're over in Barrett.
Okay, I'm not gonna keep trying to draw. Yeah. We're in Barrett. We're in Barrett.
We get the map part. You're good on that.
We get the map. There's the map.
Yep.
Yep. That's a spider.
Uh-huh.
So. Oh, that's a scuttle crab.
Yeah, that's a little.
I was like, nobody played Elise.
Like scuttle.
What are they doing over this? Was there a living scuttle crab during the Baron take?
Yeah. What?
It's a lot of people.
The scuttle's throwing me off, making it feel like it's a very, very scuttle.
All right. Well, that's looks to be a Silas chain.
Is this
very
where
sad?
CLG later on was very
I know. Buzz. So this is the Baron take, and you're trying to highlight the fact that Silas hits the scuttle crab and doesn't hit Lynx because of it.
All right, play the clip. Joshi gets the point, because this was so sad, man. Like, imagine how different this play looks if Copy just doesn't hit this guy. I mean, it probably doesn't change that much, but that's a decent amount of damage, and maybe CLG can get a little bit more for it, but this was
he doesn't
CLG
even
feeling
get
desperate.
the scuttle crab. That's the worst part about the fight. It goes over to AOE at the end of it. They get the money.
They don't even get the scuttle. It's so sad. But that was Joshi later said that this, not that Baron fight, but later at the Dragon, said this was their last chance in the game. I actually even considered that kind of their last chance. Once AOE got the Baron, the game was pretty much over from that point. They were too far ahead, and there wasn't many options for CLG to come back, even though it did take a second Baron for AOE to close it out. But we're hoping the CLG Challengers can turn things around, or at least they're hoping they can turn it around for game number 2, because pick and ban should be ready here shortly. And AOE are definitely stepping up to the plate right now. Gabby, you teased it. Gamsu scaling in a season. Maybe it's happening right now as I pass it back over to the two of you for pick and ban of game number 2.
All right, scaling. He's got his crunches going on. It's not a crunch, but you get the idea. You get the idea.
It's like we really do need to have a session where Kangas and I just teach you the ways of
At least I knew my mistake once I said it.
You know, I do commend you for that, Joshi. I do. Even though I think some of your conduct in that game of stealing some of my points was a bit questionable, but I'll let it slide.
Gotta follow the rules,
2.
Gabby. Buzz.
Buzz. There's no buzzing so far in this. There's no emotes to throw.
I'm still not sure. Oh, okay. Was the bee?
It was the bee emote.
It was the sad bee emote.
Yeah.
I understand why he did that. Okay,
Yeah.
I was very confused.
Fixated on the bee. Why is there a bee?
Why is there a bee? What is this doing here?
No, just the flavor. You got to start with the flavor sometimes.
Yeah.
But I do want to see what different flavor is brought to the draft this time around, considering how AOE from the start of that last game was quite oppressive across the lanes, not in a very extended, crazy, explosive way, but just keeping really great control of the game. So I don't know, maybe CLG brings some of their own flavor to this one for game number 2.
Yeah, and it's also interesting to see them going on to the blue side, because so far this year, we have only seen Jenkins play Warwick on the blue side, and it is something that now opens up for them. Oh, what?
Oh, so Rakan being the first locked in here for Breezy, and we've seen this pick come through a bit more frequently as of late, for sure.
Yeah, but first pick is definitely something that's a little bit wild, right? I definitely have been seeing this a little bit more often, especially paired with Xayah, but this is one of those things where if you give somebody a lot of engage tools, especially some of these playmaking sports like Breezy, it can definitely help elevate their game a little bit. But as we just saw, I mean, you see Annie, when it's picked, it is almost always picked first rotation on the red side for the exact reasons that we were talking about with CLG. It has a much better matchup into the Rakan than it does into the Lux. I feel as though CLG are kind of setting themselves up for another very difficult game going into this one.
Yeah, and when you're looking at that pick like Rakan, that does have not only that potential for vulnerability in what can happen against an Annie, it also is giving a little bit of a preview to how the rest of the draft is going to go, with Xayah coming in here as the next lock-in. You get the Vi here for Kevi. And for AOE, that means they're going in a direction that we have seen, again, usually with a Lulu of sorts, but no one minds having the Zeri.
Yeah. I mean, you can still just hold this Annie and say, well, we're going to play it support, or we're going to play it in the mid lane. You don't know yet. So it is definitely a potential flex later on. It can get extra bans out from CLG. But we have been seeing, just as you were talking about the rise of Rakan, we've been seeing a lot with the rise of Xayah because of how hard she's been spiking on the two items, where Zeri will need a little bit more time to really get into Zeri mode like we've been used to seeing for a while. And so far, kind of similar ideas, but I feel as though CLG's bottom lane, Meech and Breezy, will have a bit more to do during the laning phase than they did last game. They didn't really ever get to participate in the last one other than as a target. So as we start setting this one up, I feel like Meech and Breezy can look to be very aggressive.
As soon as those bindings started hitting for them, and then the dive to follow up later, they were kind of just brought out of the game in that laning phase. So here, hopefully garnering themselves a bit more of control. That is another thing about having a Rakan there. You have a bit of that protectiveness through the battle dance, but you do have those engage tools as well. So keeping Xayah in a comfortable position. And while Zeri does have that effect of, oh yeah, you're waiting for it to get in true Zeri mode later on, it's also that safety point for AOE. It's always nice having a pick like that no matter what happens, as long as you're somewhat in the game, then you can rely on this potential carry.
Yep. We'll be waiting. We do know that it was a Gwen ban that came through the last time. It looked like CLG didn't ban anything. We will wait for production to give us what that last ban is. But so far, we have been seeing a lot of focus towards the bottom side of the map, and this would be a bit of a surprise, but not as big of a surprise as we might expect, because it is something that we have been seeing Gamsu kind of pivoting towards a little bit. As Jace has gotten a little bit more popular with the changes to a lot of the bruiser itemization, he has been able to play a lot more, and it has been something that Gamsu has been looking to explore. That said, this pick also gets dunked on by Cho'Gath. I'm just going to throw that one out there right now.
You want to see Cho come back?
Honestly, kind of, yeah. Like, if anybody's going to do it, I feel like Jenkins could do it right here, throw it right back in the face of Gamsu and just say, hey, yeah, you thought you had something cool going up against my Sion? Well, I can also do it right here against the Jays as well. And Jenkins will be looking for different things. This is another pick. Jace is just not good into a lot of tanks going up into the top lane. Jenkins has a pretty good Gragas. We do know that the last ban was, in fact, a Cassante as well.
So top lane focused with that band here. So CLG getting their full roster locked in. You have some comfort there in the Syndra for copy and bringing that Gragas out over on the top side. Was the last pick for them to do after focusing on getting that bot lane secured. But over for AOE, looking at what they're going to bring through, it's Victor, because we don't see Victor ever.
True. I mean, this has been Darkwing's most played throughout the course of the regular season. Now, one of the things that I will be looking at in this lane is, as Darkwing's most played, I actually have not been particularly impressed with Darkwing's laning phase on this character, because he's oftentimes way more timid to trade in the first couple of levels than a lot of the other Victors, like Ryoma in particular is the one I like to point to as somebody who's going to beat you up in the first couple of levels. Going up against Copy, this is a matchup where it is a little bit Syndra favored. It's a little bit easier to pilot the Syndra side, but Darkwings, if you space efficiently, it's very difficult for Syndra to actually go for a lot of these early game Qs, get the damage down, and Darkwings can take control. But I mean, it is Copy. We're setting it up. Copy is definitely a stronger laner. We should be looking at CLG to definitely play really effectively through the mid lane. Probably a lot of attention from Kevin in that position.
Third game on the Syndra thus far this year for Copy. 8th for Victor for Darkwings, but a lot of experience on both sides, and seeing if the way that Copy likes to aggress in lane pays off for them when it comes to these mage matchups. But CLG and AOE taking on one another once again with a flipping of the sides, and it definitely had an effect on the way that this draft played through. And if you had to pick one lane in particular that you think is going to be the most intriguing, is it because, yeah, Copy might do some things, or is it somewhere else?
Depends on what you mean by intriguing, Gabby, because, like, interesting mid lane is probably not going to be interesting, but it's probably going to be where, like, the focal point is. I think the bottom lane is probably going to be the most interesting to watch.
That's where the spices...
Yeah, I mean, that's where, if you watch, because both Breezy and Skytech are playing. We're playing from the LA server. Both of them are in the vicinity. And on low ping, this matchup becomes really good for Annie because of how quickly you can stun out the Rakan whenever they go in for a grand entrance. And so watching how effectively Skytech is able to do that will potentially give a lot of opportunities to AOE that CLG will have to play around really aggressively.
And this time around, Skytech with the heal and that extra protective layer with the way that the summoners go for that bot lane, and then an ignite present on the opposite side for Breezy. So looking for that kill potential off of the lovers duo of Xayah and Rakan.
Yeah, and this time, it is worth noting, remember last time how much extra damage Skytech took right off the bat? Breezy's actually been really good at what I like to call the wiggle, right? Where you kind of move back and forth as like a melee versus range, like, oh, am I going to come at you? Am I going to hit you? Or am I not? Because you can only have your mouse on like one side of your character, and if you are backing up, it means you can't hit. But if you have your mouse towards them, it means you can't back up. And Breezy is a master at using that to get little bits of extra damage.
And with that shifting that's kind of happening in that support position, then you see a lot of that rewarded when there are these engaged champions or melee or the like that are coming back through after so long of being such a standard setup lane. But right now, across the board, nothing too crazy just yet when he is clearing over in his own jungle. And then Kevy doing the same. Last game, there was a lot of early intervention from Winnie, and the fact that CLG were able to catch on that so quickly is kind of what ended up with that first kill situation. So now Winnie trying to execute some way in the opposite regard coming over from red side, but
again,
chips in the night.
Do you remember that last time when Kevy just like zoop right on over to the other wall, but when he's going for a gank?
Oh, flash for flash. Copy the subject of the attention of AOE, but on the bot side, that attention is returned. Skytech falling into dangerous damage and life claimed. Meech with a kill credit. That's first blood for CLG.
Yeah, they give it over. Kevy gets no participation, but this is so good for Darkwings. He was already doing a pretty decent job taking over his early laning phase, and Syndra with no flash becomes a huge target for Darkwings to try and go for later on. You will be able to go for a lot of repeat ganks, and Skytech can roam up to help that out as well. So it ends up being, as long as AOE do their due diligence and come back, this is kind of an even trade across the board. But this early play, I mean, I love the fact Breezy goes for it. The stun misses because Breezy goes behind Skytech. And that's just one of those small things that Breezy does that really upsets a lot of these players. He's so good at understanding player faces and where their camera is.
Leaving no room to run for the opposition. So a good way to really reward that aggression down on bot side and get some pressure for CLG, because we are in this meta where there's so much attention towards that bot side because of the way that these carries can affect the game once they get that gold funneled into them. So exactly where you want to see that go.
Yeah. And as you said, right, just with the support, they will be coming in towards the mid lane a little bit. There's a potential set of ganks and counter ganks to actually go for here. But Skytech, I mean, he's taking a lot of control. He's taking some space that CLG will need to respect. And Kevy will also get spotted. So zooms right away from that one. But so far, not as bloody as our previous game.
And not quite. And I think it's because of partly the way that all the players are matching one another. So yes, Skytech was over towards this mid side, but so was Breezy. So as long as the numbers seem fairly even, and even if they're not catching them on wards, you gain that intel by seeing where they're not, right? So yeah. I think that everyone making sure to play somewhat cautiously and don't go for the aggressive plays when you're lacking the exact location of that opposition.
Yeah. That's something that we have seen. We have praised a lot of our challenger teams, a lot of the the fixed teams a little bit more than some of the provisional teams. It's something where AOE, you'll oftentimes notice that Skytech's vision score is a little bit lower than a lot of other supports, partly because they are just full sending it, right? They are saying, we're taking a calculated risk, and they will go for a lot of these plays in ways that a lot of the challenger teams oftentimes won't, and it'll catch them off guard in a lot of the times that they actually go for things. And so, as we start looking for a bit more opportunities here from CLG, Meech and Breezy again with a much better early game. They will be trying to establish that vision to be safe to continue building up this lead.
Exactly, that lead that they built up prior, and just having more of that firepower in the pocket with Meech allowed to get some more farming all the while when he was here, but Breezy putting the body right in between, and they have the exit strategy. So now Lynx says, uh-oh, I'm taking a lot of damage. Breezy right in my face, Meech right behind, but nothing to be had of it just yet.
That was very funny. Yeah. Just like watching like Winnie walk up into melee range of these characters, and there's like, what are you doing? And they just keep hitting, leave, go away. That's our ward, you're not close enough.
Oh, man. Very interesting moment that left everyone just alive and chilling, you know? Lynx is still waiting on that flash to come back up, and that's when you'll have that guaranteed level of protection as long as you execute properly. Winnie unable to get what he was looking for on the bot side, making the way towards top, and Jenkins not aware of this right now, and it seems like Winnie was maybe unsure of any warding that had happened, and Jenkins being actually in the positioning because of the wave state wasn't really in a vulnerable position as this Gragas.
Yeah. I mean, it is worth noting, right, that Jace doesn't have any real damage. He relies so much on his ratios, just like Vulcan does, in order to have some big opportunities.
And Breezy going in, but that's why Annie keeps the stuns up, and even after that, though, Meech getting a lot of damage. The heal is good from Skytech. And Breezy pushing that distance. Kevy coming along the way, but isn't actually needed for intervention at this point in time.
Yeah, Kevy looking around to see if people are going to stay. Breezy looking for the ignite in order to get the kill into Skytech. Doesn't find the time to do it, and that's why they do have to flash. But, ooh, trying to build up another stun. Kevy's here. I'm not convinced this action is completely over with.
Not quite.
All right, now it is.
Yeah, for a moment, though, there was that hesitancy on whether to back or to remain. Lynx and Skytech and Meech and Breezy. But now getting that opportunity to back, come back to lane, take that breath, and return confidently, because so far there's not any major extended goldie, not a lot of action that has actually followed through since that first blood over on the bot side. A bit of a farming extension for Meech as expected because of that pressure. Another attempt to buy Winnie for this top side, but in most of these cases there has been a control ward from either CLG or AOE that has prevented the jungler intervention. So now the mid lane is where we see that action. Look at all that CC onto Darkwings. Looks to flash away. Lots of damage dished out though, and Winnie now on the attack. So again, no lives lost, but you got the ultimate and the flash out of Darkwings.
Yeah, I mean, but that's also another time where Breezy doesn't throw out the ignite in order to pick up the kill towards the end. And Meech down here in the bottom lane, going to be picking up a couple of plates, denying a lot of minions. And Lynx really shouldn't be able to actually take this fight whatsoever. But Jenkins trying to stick around. Does have the ultimate, does have the flash, should be okay. But AOE, I mean, this is very typical of them. See a play, they convince that the other team is going to back away. They'll oftentimes go for objectives. Jenkins reading and just saying, I know who we're playing against, guys. We know that we can still do this. And this is the big punish. Because AOE commit, they spend their tempo in order to go try the Rift Herald. They get punished for it. Now they have to back away. They give over a play. And this play has to work.
And now the play attempting over on top, Jenkins ulting to push off the efforts of AoE, because all the while, look, the rest of the team is on the Rift Herald and they're here to help if necessary. Skytech also on the rotation though, coming through, trying to get some good hits with the Shock Blast, and Gamsu sees the potential to collapse upon CLG. Rift Herald not quite finished off just yet. They have a control in the pit, but not going to go for it. Enough of a scrap around the objective for CLG to be able to secure.
Yeah, I mean, that was the most typical AoE thing I think I've seen in this series thus far, right? They are so aggressive with their tempo, right? They're so aggressive with their time on the map, and there's a fight going through. Breezy?
Trying to get the lockdown onto Copy. Kevy going in for it. The charm, the knock-up, and once more, it's good. This time, Dark Wings is killed off, and CLG get that victory here to start infusing a little bit more gold into themselves.
Yeah. CLG not able to pick up Skytech on the other side, but this is a little bit closer to what I was expecting this series to look like, Gabby. CLG taking some control early on, not really giving a whole lot back just quite yet, and I feel like it kind of speaks to the fact that now that the draft hasn't gone significantly in favor of AoE, it's looking a lot better for CLG. And so, when we get to these positions, Gabby, what we've seen typically is whether or not CLG can win will determine on how well Copy and Jenkins are actually syncing up later on in the game. Copy's doing well, Jenkins is a little bit behind where you might expect them to be, but they both have these major crowd control tools to actually get fights started, and they love playing from different angles.
And while Jenkins is a little bit behind, think about how much time Winnie has spent on this top side. It doesn't mean that Meech and Breezy have had major opportunities to capitalize, but it also means they've been left alone to their own farming. And here in mid lane, extended effort by CLG, looking for another kill onto Darkwings, tries to throw out the Chaos Storm in response, but it ain't gonna be enough. CLG punishing the knowledge of where the enemy jungler is to continue making these plays along mid.
And just like what we were saying with Syndra, it's a massive liability for Victor to not have the flash. CLG doing their homework this time around to pick up another kill here onto Darkwings, get themselves even more plays. Copy is becoming very, very strong, but Skytech?
And they're going for it onto Copy. Tibbers has been thrown, but cannot connect enough after that. You see that Lynx is retreating back over towards that bot side. About 20 seconds to go until the next dragon comes up, but it is CLG that are controlling the map state.
Yeah. Can I point out something kind of cool that Skytech did?
Yeah, like cool things.
So, yeah, so this is something you can do on Victor as well, and a lot of like ground targeted abilities. If you put them out of range of what your maximum range is, and then flash, it...
Oh, Lord. Gamsu trying to push Jenkins away, going into empowerment. Jenkins trying to escape the onslaught of Gamsu, who even flashes for it, gets the kill. Ooh, all right, we getting some spice in the top lane.
All right, now Gamsu did one really cool thing there with like flashing the explosive cast, but like Jenkins, you gotta land those. That was a little bit rough. And CLG, they will at least get the dragon. I kind of want to go back to the previous thing because I think we'll see it come up again from Skytech. Because he put the Tibbers ground target and then flashed, it comes out instantly, right? And so Copy had to flash preemptively in order to make sure that they got out of it. So Skytech, the fact that they know that tech actually makes this champion quite a bit stronger. But with everything that has just happened, CLG are still looking at a minor lead, but Gamsu's going to be playing a bigger role in this game than I think we were initially expecting, based on how tough this matchup is supposed to be.
And that's why you still have to make sure that you don't allow anything to be forgotten in what the potential threats for AOE can be, just because you're getting these advantages across. 2 dragons have now been stacked for CLG, and now getting into that moving as a unit territory. To be a little careful though, still a little time before Jenkins has his TP going in. Vi, and the charm is good. Lynx falls even after trying to retreat, and now Winnie holding off. Last one of 2 over the wall, and Breezy tries to get the connect. Skytech throwing out the stun with the Tibbers, but Winnie wanting to get the continuation onto Kevy, but they throw it back under the turret. He reaches some kind of solace, but they take down 2 in favor of CLG.
Wow, CLG coming out ahead of that one in a wild fight. Gamsu now also winning up here in the top side of the map. It's been wild all over the place. Jenkins
for it, but Shock Blast is just going to do a little bit of poke onto the tank. Dark Wings, continuous subject of both Kevy and Copy, collapsing on this mid lane. You can even see Breezy spending so much time there.
Yeah, so much time coming through from both sides. We'll take another look at this bottom side fight, and honestly, this one is just a little bit wild, right? CLG just saying, I think we're stronger. Let's just kind of go for it. And the fact that they get immediately onto Lynx with the unstoppable cease and desist, and Lynx missing the flash over, does mean that it becomes very, very difficult for them to play as Kevy getting launched over by the blast code is probably the biggest point in this fight, just because him getting over the wall allows Breezy to join as well and actually go for even more kills. So 5-1 now on the scoreboard for CLG, and again, let's go back to the people that we normally look at. It's Copy and Jenkins who are going to be making the big plays, but they have a really strong backup in Kevy and Mage to actually do a lot more damage.
And 3K gold lead overall for CLG, and now extending that lead that much further after taking this turret. Again, Winnie hovering over on this top side, but this time Kevy is around along with the collapse from Copy. You can see the entirety of CLG rotating over in this direction. Winnie,
nice
too many blue bars around, and even blast coning away. This is just an inevitable consequence of being here with CLG really keeping the eyes. Yeah, hey, Sin, I'm just going to draw your attention. I'm going to throw out. No, now I'm just hanging out in your fountain, man. Trying to give this kill over to the minions and the turrets, but...
tragic. It was not long enough. Copy still ends up getting the kill. He denies any assist, but Winnie getting caught out a little bit. And this is the other thing that's kind of typical of AOE, right? They go for a lot of these big plays. They try and make things happen. And it's one of those situations, right? AOE actually has the longest average game time of any team currently in the Challengers League, because even though situations like this will look doomed, Gabby, they find ways to come back.
And that's where, when you're looking at a lot of these teams that do show their strength, and oftentimes it is in that early game, then it makes you feel like, well, there are always possibilities in the late game, right? As long as you keep your resolve upon you and know that you can have carries once you even out the gold a little bit, or everyone gets to that point of no return, and AOE know how to make the plays happen when they need them to.
Yeah, and look at this, instantly committing. Fortunately, Winnie realizing they were on a ward after jumping away from it, but CLG, seeing people on the other side of the map, are going to be starting up this Rift Herald. They should be able to do it with time to go over towards the Dragon. As Gamsu,
a lot of damage that Gamsu's getting onto Jenkins. Nice. He throws out the explosive cast to put him right into the crosshairs of Kevy, finishing off. So this means the Rift Herald after that kill for CLG. Looking pretty good, Joshi, in the way they're handling these plays.
Yeah, I mean, the way that Jenkins set that up, right? He has been one of the most vocal members. He is one of the most veteran members on either squad in this game. and just setting that up to make it so easy for Kevy to contribute. Really good stuff from one of the veteran players on CLG. And now, well, Breezy's trying to take a fight with Winnie too. It doesn't stop.
Getting some kind of ground covered and following Winnie here because Meech is nearby, but in the end, just kind of shoves away the jungler and says, we don't need you around here right now, Winnie, because CLG, the way that they are playing and keeping control is very impressive. I love the call out there of Jenkins because it wasn't just this last Rift Herald. It was the one prior where he bought enough time for Kevy to make that rotation all the way pretty much from base to get there, and the team working collectively to really respond to the known tendencies of AOE. This feels like a team that very much knows their opponent, is responding effectively, and being very clear in their strategy.
Yeah, and look at this, AOE moving towards the other side of the map, and they're moving in force too, right? That's something that has been very typical. CLG just needs to be careful that they don't get engaged upon. They're trying to fight for this blue buff.
They're on it, but SkyTech coming forward to get the lockdown. Knock up in response from CLG, because you'll notice all the while that Meech was separated. So that's the big source of damage you won't have in Winnie because of the continuation of the positioning. You get that charm from the Rakan, but it's not good enough for Winnie to keep in it. So Breezy and Copy holding it down for CLG right now against AOE with all the pressure they've been bringing up here on top.
You see why we say this team lives or dies by Winnie, right? Goes in, like, that's one of those plays that could have very easily been so much better coming out for AOE. A couple skill shots go a little bit wide. They are a little bit desynced ever so slightly. And those are the moments where AOE oftentimes make or break their games. Now they're down 5,000 gold. Their opponents are one dragon away from the soul. And Jenkins might actually fancy this fight. He does choose to stick around. He's waiting for Gamsu to use some abilities before he backs away. Fine. I wanted it. I wanted to see a little bit more.
Yeah, we got a little action from them too before. I was hoping they would continue up in them vibes, but not so much for the moment in time. I do appreciate what they're going for, though.
You see that? That was rude.
Just, you know. Man.
Is what it is.
Yeah.
Well, as we take a look at this, right, this is how AOE tend to make a lot of their money. I like what Winnie is going for, trying to predict the flash out from Copy. Unfortunately, over-predicting a little bit too early, and because SkyTech and Darkwings are going the long way around, Winnie is just too far forward here. Ends up getting blocked before anybody else can participate. And a good stun from Copy, make sure that Gamsu doesn't jump in. Look at the waves, right? As that was happening, there was a wave crashing in the mid lane. There was a wave and a half crashing in the bottom lane. That is all lost gold. That's about 250, a little bit more gold that was just lost off the map for AOE to try and make that play. And that's where they win or lose, right? If that play goes well, 100% worth it.
And so much gold gained continuously for CLG on the opposition because Meech wasn't even there, didn't even have to be part of it. Started making that rotation towards the latter half to support the team if necessary. But look, with the 400 gold bounty, multiple kills up in farm, Meech is a true threat. And now while with the team, should be able to dish a lot of damage out onto Winnie, who just got locked up by the Vi ultimate and immediately burned down. We're seeing the power of what Copy and Meech can do now that they've got some items under their belt. Oh, there's what you're looking for. Some Jenkins Gamsu action. Gamsu's still going for it, but the knockback from Jenkins throughout the ult, and oh, there's still a little HP that's now gone. Jenkins coming out on top in that one. Yeah.
Jenkins coming back, right? This matchup is supposed to start being like this earlier on in the game, but CLG, they're starting up the Baron. There's no jungle, there's no Gamsu. Kevin throws down the ritual because it's running out of time. And they start to pick up the Baron. And now we have the mid lane. I mean, AOE are committing, but they might get caught out, right? That's a lot of space forward that they've already gone.
Hoping that they could make that
Jenkins.
turret trade, and
Bobby J.
But they have to come through. Jenkins
Get him.
right here on top of the control ward, gets the root. Look how low that bar went so quick, but the rest of the team is still following up on the remainder of AOE, who are funneled into the jungle side links, bursted down. Darkwings almost bursted down, is looking for the escape through the jungle and the flash over the wall, but Winnie being secured with a teleport from Gamsu to come in through. Breezy and Meech have been chunked down fairly low, but Winnie now getting the response, the stun up and more onto Meech, but look at the wave coming through. Baron buff still in tow. Big burn down on the tower. Big lockdown onto Gamsu. CLG keeping their whips about them, and they gain advantages across mid and bot side.
They also crashed the Rift Herald top lane. It doesn't take the whole turret, but look at all the minions that are going to go die to the structure up there. CLG, massive, massive win, and I think it's safe to call this one, Gabby. We are looking at a 1-1 in this series between CLG and AOE. You know, AOE will have one more opportunity to try and go for a fight here around this upcoming Infernal Soul that will be spawning for CLG, but I mean, I still want to praise AOE, even though this game, they kind of got schlacked. They actually played game 1 really well.
Yeah.
And they were really able to prey on a lot of CLG's tendencies, and it gives us hope for the way that AOE will be playing towards the playoffs and the rest of the season to maybe climb up a little bit. But this teleport, I think Skytech's a little dead.
Just a little bit. And you would think for a moment that Copy was doing that teleport to collapse in one direction, but instead runs into the rest of AOE. So now it becomes CLG starting to get funneled up, but they've got Jenkins coming on the opposite side. They managed to burst down the biggest threat in Lynx, and now another one to follow in Gamsu, who flashes forward to attempt, but Copy comes up with a double kill. 4 eliminated for AOE, and CLG feel good. They even send Meech over towards the Dragon to get themselves a soul and keep crashing these waves on in.
Yeah, because of how short a lot of these death timers are, CLG not feeling confident in their ability to actually end the game. They will instead just take the classic double inhibitors, Infernal Soul. CLG firmly in control of this one, but man, what a different game we had between game 1 and game 2 so far, and I feel like this was probably going to be my favorite series of the day already, just on account of how much personality we saw from both teams.
Very different looks, both in draft and playstyle and beyond. And right now, I think CLG are feeling great about the lead that they have accumulated for themselves here at almost 24 minutes into the game. Such security in the map, such great movement on champions, with which a lot of them are very comfortable when you're looking at Copy as somebody on the Syndra, and kind of having that reversion and having a new look for themselves over here on blue side has worked out very nicely. And now with a soul to throw at the face of AOE in their next fight.
Yeah, and it will just be doing so much damage. Jenkins trying to find Gamsu. Jenkins undeniably winning that side lane at this point, just because of how far ahead they are, all the souls that they have picked up. So, I mean, CLG, we saw this last game from AOE, right? There was only one place left for them to go. Now it's CLG's turn to head towards the top lane, pick up any turrets that are left, and ooh, I mean, this is fun. Is it good?
Copy is here too, and Winnie's looking. They're in the brush, and a teleport coming in for CLG, but the knockback from Kevy onto 1. That means Annie has gone down, and Darkwing soon to follow. CLG leaving no openings for AOE thus far.
Nothing to do. I mean, CLG are like, it's AOE. There's one thing that they can try and do here. We'll have to check every bush on our way up. Spot him out with the sweeper. Now CLG will be looking to end the game 19-1. Very close to a shutout coming through from CLG, as they will be looking to close this one. No ults, no real summoners available for AOE, and CLG, I mean, continue to stay around 500.
And this is what you call a really good confidence booster for the CLG squad, considering just how dominant this game has been. I mean, everyone can use some kind of that boost in what they believe in themselves and their skill, because they're showing strong right now as they attempt to close this out. AOE on their final stand here within their base. You can see that Skytech is holding on to that Annie stun for whenever CLG do decide to aggress. They do have another super coming in on this bot side, as well as this mid wave as well. That's what they were waiting on before they can continue this aggression. Nothing else worth dipping back for onto this map. And here we go, getting the lockdown. There's my ultimate way into the backline to try and get this kill onto Lynx. Into stasis, Kevy goes, or Kevy, but then the rest of CLG taking down the turret. They're keeping their eyes on the objective and using everything just to keep AOE at bay. Going for the kills now to slice them up. Breezy does go down in the process, but it's AOE that are pushed on the back foot. CLG putting in the work right now to tie up this series, having a little bit of fun twirling around with Darkwings and Skytech on the other side, but nonetheless.
It is over, right? It is over, right?
It's over.
CLG having a little bit too much fun. I've seen too many games. I gotta think back to FlyQuest versus Team Liquid Academy last year with one of the big scoops that Spyrex did that actually saved the game. But This time it is going to be CLG closing this one out. Again, a very clean game in Game 2, but it does end us with a 1-1 in AOE, showing us some good stuff at the very least.
I think that's something that you can look back to for AOE, the way that they played in game number 1, managing to keep control of the lanes and turn that into an overall victory. Here, CLG switching things up for game number 2, though, and having a lot of control from start to finish. That does it for our first series, though, folks. We've got 2 more to go and an interview from this one at that. We'll see you on the other side of this break.
Hello, everybody. We're back with our post-series interview. I have Kevy coming in from CLG Challengers after splitting the series 1-1, but ending on a very positive win against AOE. Let's talk about it, Kevy, because that's been happening a couple times so far in the split. The 1-1's coming in. CLG Challengers sitting currently middle of the pack. How you feeling about the season so far?
I feel okay. I mean, as I was saying before, like, our results haven't really shown like how much we've improved, especially like in the last 2 to 3 weeks. Like, our scrims have been going really good, you know. We haven't been able to like 2-0. We've been like 1-1 in games that we expected 2-0, which like always hurts, but we're slowly like detaching from the results, like focusing on long-term growth on PG and stuff like that. So yeah.
Well, okay, so you mentioned there scrims going much better than the stage games have been. We've been hearing that too. Even players like APA and Soul have mentioned that on different podcasts, different broadcasts, interviews, saying like, hey, CLG Challengers are one of the top teams from our opinion on, like, you know, performance-wise. It's just the stage games aren't necessarily showing that. What do you think the difference is? Is there a difference in your mind as, like, why that is the case?
I mean, for a while, I think we just played worse on stage. We would, like, choke and stuff, be, like, yeah, as I said, like, too attached to the results, you know? But, we just have to accept that, like, any team can win on any given day. Like, on a stage day, like, they might just be playing, like, way better than us, even though we feel like we're a lot better, you know? So we just have to, like, focus on being consistent, like, translating scrim results, obviously. We don't mind too much, you know, about, like, scrim win or loss anymore. We're just, like, focused on, like how we actually play the game. So I think that's helped a lot. And, yeah, unfortunately today we had to play from home. So we, didn't really get to warm up, and game 1 kind of showed that, we had, like, yeah, a few draft issues. We all just played a little bit bad, made some bad decisions.
Yeah, you dropped that little bit of information before we went live. So is the CLG facility being affected by all the rain in LA right now?
Yeah, I mean, the power's just out. So yeah, I saw the message this morning. Like, I was getting ready to go to the office, and then yeah, unfortunately we just have to play from home.
How much did that, like, affect the mental of yourself and the team? Because I know that throughout a lot of your competitive career playing in O's, you were playing from home, you were playing in the remote setup. So was it just kind of like a return to form for you? How did the team kind of react to that?
I'm like relatively comfortable playing from home. It always feels weird, you know, you're like so stimulated just playing from home, but then you have to like understand it's like a stage game, like it's not a scrim. You can't just constantly like limit test and stuff like that. I think my teammates might have been a little more uneasy because obviously, I mean, I don't think they've played from home. Maybe they have before, but yeah, it was definitely like a surprise for us. And usually we play a warm-up game and stuff. We like get to the office early, talk about stuff, go outside for a bit, but we didn't really get to do any of that. So I think for game 1 our mindset was not that great.
What's your favorite warm-up activity? Like, if you got put in charge, what's the team warming up with?
We have a ball with like letters and numbers on it, and we throw it to each other, and like we have to say the letter or number really fast before we throw it to the next person. I don't know what it's called, but
wait, so like just like a baseball size? Like, how big of a ball are we talking here?
Like a bit smaller than a basketball, you know?
Okay.
Decently big.
I'm very curious. I can't visualize what that game is, what it looks like, but I want to watch it sometime. Maybe
we stand in like a circle and like throw it to each other. So.
All right, we'll have to get some footage of that, some video to show any solo queue players at home that are looking to warm up how CLG Challengers does it. I want to talk a little bit about your journey so far with the team, because obviously you joined last summer. This is now approaching kind of like a full year with the team, as it were. How do you see your voice on the team changing, adapting over a full year of playing with relatively the same core save copy, who's the new addition this year?
Well, yeah, the results are like pretty bad last split, but and like this split, obviously, you know, we would prefer to be higher than we are, but comparing last split to this split, like I feel so much improvement, especially in the last like 2 to 3 weeks. Like last split I kind of had some champ pool issues and stuff, and so I decided this. But I want to be a really good teammate. Like I'm not the biggest fan of playing Sejuani Maokai every game, but I just decided like we will lose, and I will not like have the potential to go LCS if I don't like become proficient at the champs that are like so broken, like pick or ban. So that's one thing. So. But yeah, as I said, like in terms of our team environment, I think we all realized like we're just focusing on PG at this point. We've dropped games that we shouldn't have. It is what it is, and we all feel like we play the game a lot better than we did a couple of weeks ago when we were just like throwing games and going 1-1 against teams we like expected to.
Well, I mean, game 2 here definitely shows, I think, that improvement. Let's work on the consistency next. Get those 2 O's rolling.
It's very important.
To wrap up here, I want to end on a fun note, because obviously it's awesome to get to hear from you, hear from the team mentality. But on a personal level, I love checking everybody's Leaguepedia pages. What's one piece of information that you wish was on your Leaguepedia page that is not currently?
One piece of information? I don't know. I mean, nothing too crazy. I mean, I was like permanently rank 1 in OS. Maybe put that on there.
Permanently ranked 1. Yeah. So like how many splits in a row, or like how many years in a row?
Just like the whole year of last year or the year before.
Well, it couldn't have been last year because you were in NA. Unless you held the position. That would be crazy.
Maybe I did. Just to say, but yeah.
You know what? That. Nobody fact checks the trivia section on Leaguepedia, so we'll throw it in for you, Kevin. Thanks so much for coming out and chatting with us. Congratulations on ending on a win, and best of luck going into prep for your next matches. All right. With that said, we're gonna send it over to a short break before we are back with our second series of the day right after this.